We suggested previously that America has the most corrupt government the world has ever seen. Based on what we have told you about it, would you agree? If so, what can you do about it? Henry David Thoreau said, "There are 1,000 hacking at the branches of evil to one who is striking at the root." The average person, when presented with the sort of information we've been talking about here, and who wants to take action to stop the tyranny and return to true constitutional government, instinctively knows that he must strike at the root to accomplish this, but he has no idea how to do it. Many of the patriot organizations are fragmented and ineffective. Freedom-loving people end up hacking at the branches, or just wandering the desert, searching for an oasis. For those of you who don't want to get involved, who just want to go along to get along, we have 2 quotes for you. One of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. The second is, those who are not interested in politics will be forever ruled by those who are. The first quote was from Plato, and the second from G. Edward Griffin, author of several books and founder of Freedom Force International. The fact that they were uttered some 2,400 years apart should tell you that the consequences of a lack of vigilance and inaction have changed little over the centuries. Those consequences lead to more government and power for the leaders and less power and freedom for the people. America became a great nation because of its Constitution and Bill of Rights, not because of political parties. Political parties are not at all necessary for electing representatives, running the government, protecting our borders, ensuring our safety, or interfacing with other nations. They are not mentioned in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, or the Bill of Rights. Yet, political parties dominate our country today. They put on a show to make us think we need them and to make us think we have a choice. But the only reason political parties exist is so that the elite can acquire power they are not entitled to. In his farewell address, George Washington warned of the dangers of political parties.
They, political parties, serve to organize faction, to give it an artificial and extraordinary force, to put in place of the designated will of the nation the will of a party. Dr. Carroll Quigley, a highly respected Georgetown University professor and the globalists' own historian, wrote,
"The argument that the 2 parties should represent opposed ideals and policies, one perhaps of the right and the other of the left, is a foolish idea, acceptable only to doctrinaire and academic thinkers. Instead, the 2 parties should be almost identical, so that the American people can throw the rascals out at any election without leading to any profound or extensive shifts in policy."
The election for president every 4 years is a joke because the globalist bankers have succeeded in totally corrupting the process. And here is the globalists' own historian admitting as much.
Dick, the political elites, the globalists such as the Rockefellers and the CFR, laugh at the perception, even the conviction that most Americans have, that there are any significant differences between the 2 major parties, especially at the federal level. They're just labels that spawn other labels, such as liberal, conservative, left, and right, all of which only serve to distract us away from what's really important, the steady erosion of our freedoms. The globalists also laugh at our perceived differences between the major presidential candidates. They don't care a whit whether a Democrat or Republican becomes president. They don't care whether the race is a landslide or a photo finish. The 2 major presidential candidates, the Republican and Democratic nominees, are both bought and paid for by the globalists, to whom these candidates owe their allegiance. The globalists decide, not the people and not their delegates, who the major contenders will be. And then they pour millions of dollars into the controlled media promoting them. At the same time, they make sure that no independent or third-party candidates get enough media coverage to make them viable. This means that only a Democrat or Republican can become president, which makes it easier to control the field of candidates.
As part of the charade, we've got the mass media analyzing the candidates and telling us what their positions are. Rick, why can't the media let the voters see that for themselves?
Because the media are a key party election control mechanism, Dick. The globalist candidate always wins because both the Democratic and Republican nominees belong to them. So it's heads I win, tails you lose. The entire presidential race is nothing more than a phony wrestling match. Likewise, the Democratic and Republican positions on the issues are mere rhetoric and demagoguery.
So, what you're saying, Rick, is that there's no difference between Democrats and Republicans.
Well, that's basically true, Dick, but try proving that to the average American voter.
I'd like to try that, Rick. Let's take the war in Iraq. Some 80% of Americans want to bring U.S. troops home from Iraq now, right?
Right. But while the Republicans say they want the troops to stay indefinitely, the Democrats say they are against remaining in Iraq. And the president threatens to veto any bill Congress proposes that'll bring the troops home.
Ah, but the Democrats could stop the war tomorrow.
How can they do that, Dick?
Well, funds for the war must be appropriated by Congress, right?
That's what the Constitution says.
All that's required is a simple majority vote to block the next funding appropriation. And the Democrats already have a simple majority, thanks to the 2006 election.
But the Democrats refuse to block further funding of the war, so we stay in Iraq.
Doesn't this prove that there's really no difference between the Republicans and the Democrats?
Well, it sure does, Dick. Yet, even though most Americans oppose the war and the Democrats tell us they will get us out of Iraq, our troops are still there and we are spending some $15 billion per month on Iraq.
The actions of Congress speak louder than their words, and it is by their actions that they ignore the will of the people.
It is by our actions that we can assert the will of the people, Dick. But to do this, we have to cast aside partisanship and party loyalty.
It's time to put principle over partisanship. The principle is our freedom, which is rapidly disappearing with the help of party partisanship. As Ara Russo said in his 2006 film, America from Freedom to Fascism,
It's time to stop being good Republicans and Democrats, and time to start being good Americans.
Think about this. When you're in the privacy of the voting booth, no one will know that you didn't vote for the same party your grandfather voted for. Your choice is between you and the voting machine. Your vote is much too important to your freedom to ignore, or to let others tell you how to use it. Party loyalty means nothing. Switching parties, therefore, also means nothing.
So, Rick, what do we want our viewers to do?
Stop relying on network television, the big newspapers and magazines for your news. Even your local papers are suspect. The controlled media's goal is to manipulate people by misinforming them. They ignore some information and censor and lie about other information, often invoking fear as a tactic to serve the globalist bankers under the pretense of honest, objective journalism. If you continue to drink at the same trough for your news, you will never know the real news. Use alternative sources instead.
Every 4 years, much attention is paid to the presidential race. This is because the media want to convince us that the presidency is the most important office in our republic. They seem to want us to think that he is all-powerful and beyond reproach. But, as Theodore Roosevelt said in 1918, to announce that there must be no criticism of the president, or that we are to stand by the president right or wrong, is not only unpatriotic and servile, but is morally treasonable to the American public.
The president is only one person, and his power is extremely limited by the Constitution. It is the Congress who makes our national laws, not the president. He has only veto power. Congressman Ron Paul of Texas has standing instructions to his staff to review all bills passing through his office to determine if they are constitutional. If any are not, and most of them aren't, he doesn't vote for them. Every member of Congress should be doing the same thing. Why don't they? Because most are serving the corporate and globalist interests, not those of the people who elect them. We need people in Congress with allegiance to the Constitution, not the CFR, the Bilderbergs, or any other globalist organization.
From the way the federal government continues to acquire more power and control through legislation, it is obvious that most people in Congress are working against you. They're not doing their job, so get rid of them. You have the power to fire them by simply voting them out of office and electing honest people in their place who will abide by their oaths of office. That way, we can repeal and change the laws that are destroying our country and replace them with constitutional laws.
We have to clean house to get rid of the entire U.S. Congress. But how can we do that? Well, here it is, step by step. Look for your state on this and the following screens. If you find your state, look for your congressional district. If you find your district, make note of the endorsed candidate. If the senatorial candidate is listed, note that name also.
Pause the DVD to give you time to search and copy the names. If you are not sure which congressional district you live in, call your Secretary of State or look it up by your zip code on the internet at the address shown on the screen. You can refer to these instructions again later. Use the DVD menu feature to jump to this voting instructions section.
The objective is to have everyone vote for the same candidate.
Start with Priority 1 as shown on the screen. If you were able to select a candidate from Step 1, that is who you must vote for. If not, vote for a Libertarian Party candidate. If there isn't any, vote for a Green Party candidate. If there isn't any, vote for the incumbent's opponent.
Rick and Dick have no association with either the Libertarian Party or the Green Party, and we do not favor one over the other.
However, there are approximately 100 Libertarians and 30 Green Party candidates running for Congress. No other third party comes even close to those numbers. Asking you to favor the Libertarians, should there be a conflict, is a matter of strategy, not favoritism.
Now, Dick, didn't we just get through telling our viewers that political parties were no damn good? And now here we are asking them to vote for a political party?
Yes, but we are sure they will understand why it is necessary at this time.
All of the major third parties advocate a return to constitutional government. They differ only in minor ways.
Voting for the incumbent's opponent means that if the incumbent is a Democrat, vote for his Republican opponent, and vice versa.
These instructions apply to both U.S. House of Representatives seats and U.S. senatorial seats. Note that only 34 states will be electing senators in 2008.
If we rid ourselves of the existing corrupt Congress, then the new Congress can start from scratch, learning how to be corrupt.
And now, one very important request. As we previously indicated, you could wait until you are in the voting booth to follow steps 1 and 2. But you can imagine how powerful it would be if all of your friends and associates also knew who to vote for. Here is how you can provide them with that very simple information. Contact your Secretary of State and find out who will be on the ballot in your congressional district. Follow the steps we have outlined and determine who you will vote for. Now ask your friends and associates to vote the same as you, and also ask them to pass the word on.
It is imperative that you vote only as described here if you want to restore the freedoms the globalists are stealing from us.
Get out and vote in the next election. We mean everyone. Be sure you're registered in time and then go to the polls on election day. Use absentee ballots if you can't get to a polling place. Concerned about rigged elections? They've been tampered with for years, long before computerized voting machines came into use. A famous leader once said, "Those who vote decide nothing. Those who count the votes decide everything." That was Joseph Stalin, the Soviet dictator from 1929 to 1953. But if everyone votes according to the strategy we've described in a united front, it would be impossible for those who try to control elections to manipulate the outcome without it being painfully obvious to the electorate.
This is also a great opportunity for you as American citizens who have never held public office to run for Congress. These are the only instructions you will receive on voting, so be sure to refer to them again just before you vote.
The government is your servant, not the other way around. You can take charge and tell them what to do. That is the way it's supposed to work. Spread the word. Tell your family, friends, and acquaintances, especially those without internet access. Even tell your enemies about this. And tell the people you know who have lost their jobs because NAFTA and other free trade agreements moved them offshore.
Duplicate and distribute as many copies of this DVD as you can. Arrange to show the video at house parties, libraries, and other places where a lot of people can watch it at the same time. Ask the person who gave you this DVD how you can acquire more of them to hand out. If millions of Americans see this video and vote accordingly, we can turn our country around.
Remember, the globalists have all the money in the world. They don't have to work for a living the way most people do. So they can and do pursue their agenda for world government non-stop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year.
Are you going to sit there with your arms crossed and let them trample your unalienable rights in their insatiable lust for power? Are you going to let them steal your future and that of your children and grandchildren because you don't believe the evidence we've shown you? Because it doesn't appear in the news? Or because you think this can't be true because it sounds so incredible and impossible?
If you're looking for absolute proof of a conspiracy to create a one-world dictatorship, ask yourself how much of your current body of knowledge is actually based on absolute proof, as opposed to what you've read in the papers, learned in school, or heard from others. Perhaps you should ask yourselves if you are willing and able to think critically, or are you contented with letting others do your thinking for you?
We've presented a lot of information in this video, and we said in the beginning to conduct your own investigation and confirm it for yourself. Most people won't do the research. They're too busy denying reality or working several jobs to stay afloat or looking for any job so they can eat, and not questioning why that is their lot. Well, we have told you why. So, are you going to continue to let them steal your freedom without a fight?
So decide whether you are a snooze button American or a rise and shine American,
On the fence or on the offensive?
a sit down American or a stand up American.
Mark Twain said, "In the beginning of a change, the patriot is a scarce man, brave, hated, and scorned. When his cause succeeds, however, the timid join him, for then it costs nothing to be a patriot."
How much are you willing to pay to take back your country?
Saving our country is not a spectator sport. Get involved. You might even have fun.
Remember, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty.